thyself is to love thyself, is to examine, observe, and respect thyself. It's an ongoing process, never to be explained in a brief synopsis. It's a preoccupation with reflection and revelation that can only be achieved through discipline and determination.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Encouraging Word Show. I am your host, Jamila Freelane, and this is my co-host, Miss
Shay Hughes.
And today we're here to talk about college fairs. Now, the Encouraging Word Show, for those of you who may not be familiar with the show, is a show that we've developed in reference to helping students and parents to kind of plan for their college path or their career path. And the whole purpose of the show was really to be an extension of a book that I created called Free Money for College. The whole purpose behind me writing this book was to serve as a tool that students and parents could use to help them better plan for a college path or career path, but more than likely a college plan, because more and more people are going to college. And one of the things that I've noticed as, someone who's been working with students and parents and administrators and teachers for years is that oftentimes people weren't aware of maybe what strategies or what approaches they could have going to college, and even didn't necessarily know about certain resources. So I figure if I can help students and parents to save some time and money, I definitely want to do so. So if you or someone you know is between the ages or the grades of 6th through 12th grade, or they're a parent of a 6th through 12th grader and they're planning on going a college path, this is a book you definitely want to check out. So jumping right in, as I mentioned, the topic for today is college fairs. So let me ask you guys, or let me ask you, Shay. Can't really ask you guys. I guess you guys can respond in the comment section on the YouTube video. But Shay, did you have the opportunity to attend college fairs when you were planning for your undergraduate degree?
Yeah, so my first college fair experience was in 8th grade.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to the Battle of the Bands in Atlanta, Georgia. And of course, that weekend they have a college fair.
Right. What a great experience.
Yes.
So did you guys stay overnight and stuff and make a weekend of it?
We did stay that time I went. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. So tell me more about the fair. What was your experience, especially to have gone so young? I think that's significant. But that's something I'm always preaching, is to start that process in middle school.
Yeah. So I really wasn't focused on the college part. I was there for the Battle of the Bands, but it definitely was a good experience to get the exposure to see, there's a lot of choices that you can make.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. Now, as far as what you know now versus what you knew back then in 8th grade, which you probably knew virtually nothing. It sounds like you were more there for the Battle of the Bands event, which, and I honestly, in 8th grade, that probably would have been me too. What would you do differently, or is there something that you would have done more of in anticipation of that event if you had more awareness, or knowing what you know now?
Yeah, so I definitely would have been more prepared.
Okay.
So knowing questions to ask, knowing at least a few, maybe 3 or 4 career paths that I may be interested in taking during college. Just knowing the right questions to ask.
Yeah, and I think that's critical, because if you think about it, time is money, right?
Yeah.
And if you can ask the right questions and not be intimidated when you go to those college fairs and meet with the representatives, you can really get a ton of useful information that can help you make a decision. I know that was the case for myself. I attended a few college fairs. I was blessed and privileged to have the experience of some college fairs and some college tours. So by the time I made my final selection and decision for a college, it wasn't easy peasy necessarily, but it definitely was easier, because I was armed with different knowledge about what different schools provided. So I appreciate that I was afforded that opportunity, definitely. And for you, for that matter, if you're planning on attending a college fair, if you're a student or if you're a parent, here's 3 real interesting and great steps that you can look into before you go ahead and attend. The first one is to really treat it, if you're a parent, treat it like a job fair. Just like you would want to know what companies are going to be present at that job fair, know what colleges and universities are going to be there. So if you're a student and you're thinking about this school and that school and that school and that school, and these are schools that you've heard of, but you don't know anything more about them than the man on the moon, then you need to do your research and make sure that you understand what colleges are going to be present at the fair that you're planning on attending, and then do your research. And when I say do your research, what are some things that you think could be helpful?
So knowing the GPA requirement for the school. So if you know that you have a 3.5, but the recommendation is to have a 3.9, you know, that's still a good GPA. But
absolutely.
It may be.
But it means you would fall short. There's definitely a point spread in between there. And that point spread could mean the difference as to whether or not you get in. If the average student, as she said, is getting in and they have a GPA of 3.9, and you might have a strong 3.5, but a strong 3.5 may not cut it in this more competitive market of college admissions, especially depending on what the school is and how many applicants they get, that sort of thing. Doesn't mean that you maybe shouldn't apply, especially if you've got some other things that maybe compensate for that. But just be mindful, doing your homework, doing your research, and knowing things like the GPA requirements are critical. Entrance exams. Now, I took the ACT way back when I was, applying for undergrad. What did you take?
I took the SAT.
Okay. So depending on where you go into school, a school may ask for one or the other. It used to be kind of more so that you would see the ACT used in the Midwest and northern regions, and maybe in the southern regions you would see SAT. Now it's kind of a lot of crossover. So a lot of schools kind of will take one or the other and have conversion charts and that sort of thing. But it's still good for you to know. Why do you think it was helpful for you to know maybe the entrance exam scores of the average students when you were looking at Winthrop?
To increase my chances of getting accepted, and also knowing other things that look good on to get accepted as well.
Absolutely, everything kind of helps to bolster your chances. And you went to Winthrop University, and I went to the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. So definitely knowing those two key pieces right there can be some of the most critical pieces of information. Also, the cost is very important. People, for whatever reason, don't necessarily think about the dollars and cents a lot of times until junior and senior year. That's, again, how this came about. Oftentimes, people are shocked to learn that really, truly, and honestly, an undergraduate degree, depending on where you go to school now, might run you anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000, okay, for that bachelor's degree. And so if you haven't saved or haven't worked on anything to prepare for that particular price tag, you will be in not just for a rude awakening, but you will put yourself way, way, way behind. And you don't want to be in a situation where you're paying for your undergraduate degree 40, 50 years after. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really, we're laughing, but it's serious. Student loan debt every year for the past 5 to 8 years has been at an all-time high. And I say it's been at an all-time high in all those years because every year it keeps climbing.
My new total yesterday, and I looked at it and I was like, it's there.
And it's looming in the background. Yeah. So, rather than to be surprised at the end of the day, if you can get ahead of that and know ahead of time, then it can really make a world of difference in your life. I know something like this would have been helpful for me when I was looking at college. And then since that time that I graduated from undergrad, really tuition costs for a lot of colleges and universities have doubled, and in some cases nearly tripled. Yeah. So you want to be ahead of the game when it comes to that. Last thing we want to talk about is ranking. And I don't think that I knew necessarily to do this. And I regret that I didn't know this necessarily when I was looking at schools. I didn't know, I knew that I wanted to go into a certain major, and at that time mine was broadcast journalism. But I didn't know where my school ranked in terms of that particular program. Is that something that you looked into?
So Winthrop University actually started as an all-girl education school.
Did not know that.
Yeah, so their main focus at that school is actually education. So that was a determining factor for me to actually decide to go there because I wanted to do education. So.
Okay, gotcha. So it started off as an all-girls school.
Yes.
And then education was one of their founding major programs.
That was the only major they had.
Okay. So that was the longest standing program that they had there too. See, and even in terms of my knowledge and my insight, it would have been helpful for me to have some history. Like I knew Hugh Hefner had graduated from our College of Communications, but that was probably the most recognizable person that I could, name today. Now we've got people that have gone on to be CNN reporters and national reporters. One guy that I can think of in particular, I remember him. We lived in the same dorm, and now I see him all over the place covering storms and all that kind of stuff, which is really cool because he's a success story too. But I would say if, with us knowing hindsight is 2020, that's something that I would have looked more into. And I think that's something, especially with colleges being more competitive and being more costly, you want to know how well that particular college or university is going to be in positioning you for success on that particular path that you plan on going into. You want to know maybe what relationships they have already that are established within your area. They might be able to, depending on their ranking, have better internship opportunities and job opportunities when you graduate and go out. And is that not the reason that we go in the first place? To position ourselves for better job opportunities and career paths. So you want to be aware of that. Last thing you want to do in terms of that 3-step approach is to be aware of the resources and special programs that are available at colleges and universities. Did you take advantage of any?
I not necessarily in college, but a lot of my friends were involved in the TRIO program.
Okay,
and they have a lot of first generation students or low income students, and they help them, with job applications, really doing study hours, making sure you're staying on task while you're in college.
And TRIO programs are national in scope, so many colleges and universities have TRIO programs. Another thing that I would like to note in terms of talking about special programs is I'm thinking of things like summer programs or programs. There are some programs with undergraduate degrees where if you're going to school for your undergraduate degree in a certain area, you can concurrently at the same time be earning graduate degree credit hours as well. So special programs like that can save you time and money. And guess what? If you don't ask, you don't know. Sometimes they have summer programs for you to take as a high school student so that way if you take them over the summer, a lot of times if they last the whole summer or that sort of thing, you can actually earn college credits over the summer. Maybe for free or at a reduced cost.
In high school, I went to Dorman High School in Roebuck, and we had a partner school that was R.D. Anderson, and a lot of my friends that wanted to do nursing, they actually got their hours towards that by going there and then pursuing it after high school as like their actual career. So.
And a lot of vocational high schools do that, and I know at the school that I work at, we have some programs where students can take advantage of that. But guess what? If you don't ask those questions or you don't attend those college fairs, you miss out on that information. Now, that's actually our time for today, but I'm going to put some information on the Facebook page in regards to 2 resources that I think you could really take a look at. One is NACAC, and the website for NACAC is nacacnet.org, I believe. And then for those of you that are in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, there's a college fair coming up next week, as a matter of fact, next Wednesday, the 27th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., and that will be taking place at the Naomi Dreenan Community Center, and that is located at 728 Beale Street. 750 Beale Street. And that's Charlotte, North Carolina, 28211. We want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Free Money for College if you're in that category. And make sure to tune in next week for our upcoming show.